Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Zarifah Syahira binti Kamarudin. I will represent our problem statements, background of the study, research objective and research questions. So, for the first part, which is the background of the study, for the first point is to understand the graduates' qualities and requirement skills to apply job, because employers nowadays more prefers on skills, qualities, experience that CGPA does not capture. To study the relationships between levels of employability in terms of CGPA. The third point is to determine the levels of employability amongst the UiTM Puncak Alam. So next I will be present about our problem statement, which is for the first point is university no longer guarantees a job. Employers require much more than working on a set routines or mechanical tasks that have a textbook solutions. This can be proven with unemployed graduate statistic 2019 shows that the numbers of unemployed graduates in 2019 was 170.3 thousand persons, increased 5.5% from the previous 2018, which is 161.3 thousand persons. For the second point is the lack of the employability skill among graduates. According to Ernie 10 years, the current graduate skill supply is not able to meet the skill demanded by the industry. Industry claim that they are having difficulty in fulfilling these job vacancies. Next, I will represent our research objective. Our research objective number 1 is to assess the levels of employability among students in UiTM Puncak Alam. Our second objective is to identify the difference between students by their CGPA in terms of employability levels among students in UiTM Puncak Alam. Next, our research questions is, what is the level of employability among students in UiTM Puncak Alam? Our second question is, what is the difference between students by their CGPA in terms of employability levels among students UiTM Puncak Alam?
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Amni Wahida binti Zulkifli. I will present the point for the third slide, which is summary of literature review of prominent scholar only. So, based on our research, York and Knight in 2014 was defined the term employability is as a set of achievement which includes skills, understanding, the personal attribute that make graduate more likely to gain employment and be successful in their chosen occupation, which benefit themselves, the workforce, the economy, and the community. In addition, according to Brown in 2015 said that CGPA isn't everything and employers are looking at skills, qualities, and the experience that CGPA doesn't capture. So to summarize, high cumulative grade point average CGPA did not necessarily help graduates to secure jobs. It was found that employers nowadays expected students to know everything and they might not solely look at academic achievement as a significant employment factor. Many employers suggest students to develop their soft skills such as personal competencies, personal attitude, self-motivation and leadership, the ability to work in a team, language proficiency and employment readiness, as this would improve their employability. In addition, most employers prefer graduates with soft skills rather than academic credential alone.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Fitriana and I'm gonna present about research methods. The research designs of this research is descriptive quantitative research, as it's conducted to investigate the difference between CGPA in terms of employability levels among students in UiTM Puncak Alam. With this, we can compare and contrast whether which qualifications levels of CGPA will contribute to the employability level. This population sampling process takes a subset of the subjects representing the whole populations. As the population size is unknown, we employed a non-probability sampling technique that is convenience sampling. For the sample size, survey was performed on the samples of students from UiTM Puncak Alam across all faculty available at UiTM Puncak Alam that were Part 1 to Part 8 of their studies. In addition, units of analysis, as this research needs input from students on what they believe and perceive. Next, for the question designs, the questionnaire used for this analysis is split into two sections. The address of part 1 is student profile that involve around demographic characteristics, and the address of part 2 is employability. Measurements for these questionnaires is the instruments used for these questionnaires for examines the variables of the employability is Likert scales of 1 to 5 points.
Okay, point for the next slide is second stage of analysis, which is demographic profile chart. In this section, the descriptive analysis was used to describe the characteristic of the respondent in terms of their gender, type of faculty, and their CGPA range. There were 214 data collected, which is more than the sample size which was derived from G power, which is 200. Therefore, the percentage shown in all charts were based on 214 data. So for the first chart shows the percentage of gender. Majority of the respondents were female with 82%. And for the second chart, it shows the percentage of faculty. Majority of the respondents were from Faculty of Health Science with 33%. And for the last chart, it shows the percentage of CGPA range. Majority of the respondents were from second class upper division with 51%.
Next, I'm gonna present about normality and reliability test. According to the table 4.1, the result shows that the score for means and medians for variables and probability were almost similar. In addition, the score for kurtosis and squidness for the employability within the range. Therefore, the samples was considered normal. This means overall findings of the analysis conducted for the study can be generalized to the whole populations. Second, reliability test based on table 4.2, as we can see that all the variables which are competence, personal attributes, and preparedness, the result is 0.8 are good. Therefore, all items having the high internal competency. That's all from me.
Our research objective 1 is to assess the level of employability among students in UiTM Puncak Alam. Based on the descriptive statistic for the level of employability, the table indicates that the minimum amount for the level of employability is 1.58. UiTM Puncak Alam students on average is moderately high. The number of mean also is reliable. This shows that mostly the level of employability among the students is above average. The competence also shows that mostly of the student is above average. However, personal attributes represent quite low number of mean, which is 3.6. Personal attributes of UiTM Puncak Alam is good, but the standard deviation is above 15%, which indicates that the mean accuracy is not so reliable because it has quite big dispersion above 15%, which indicates that the personal attributes of UiTM Puncak Alam student is low. For preparedness, most of UiTM Puncak Alam student is on average. Even though the data of mean is 3.5, however, since the dispersion is quite huge, which is about 4%, is indicating that most students are not well prepared, even though the statistic shows the result of 1.00. However, it also indicates that consists students who have a highest level on preparedness. Next, bar chart of employability level indicates that most students score less than 1% of the highest amount of employability level, which is 4.92. Meanwhile, majority of the students score most higher, about between 3.56, 3.7, and also 3.9. Next, the highest score for competence is 5.00 and the lowest is 1.93. For personal attributes, the highest score is 5.00 and the lowest is 1.14. Last is preparedness. The highest score of preparedness is 5.00 and the lowest is 1.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Hanani Husna binti Sida Hafiz. I will continue objective 2. As you can see on the slide, the result shows that the differences between students by their cumulative grade point average CGPA in terms of employability level are not significantly related. The score of R has negative relationship, which means the higher the pattern of personal attribute, the lower of the CGPA. In other words, the higher of CGPA, the lower of the personal attribute. Now, let's move to ANOVA table. Based on ANOVA table, overall findings of the analysis can be concluded only the level of competence are significantly related to CGPA. CGPA is not significantly related to employability, but one dimension of employability, which is competence, is related. Any changes in competence is resulted from CGPA by R square equal to 2%. The rest doesn't give any effect. Only CGPA give effect on competence. In other words, how poor the CGPA does not give any effect on employability. Now, let's move to the graph. For the graph, the result shows that there is not much difference between CGPA for second lower and upper division and first class. As we can see in the graph, which is the orange, yellow and grey color, in terms of competence, personal attributes and preparedness, as the mean difference for each variable were almost similar. Meanwhile, in terms of CGPA from third class, which is the blue color in the graph, the result shows that there is significantly difference between competence, personal attribute and preparedness. Okay, now for recommendations, we would like to suggest some solutions for UiTM to improve the level of employability among UiTM Puncak Alam students. So for the first recommendation is UiTM should standardize all faculty in terms of employability skills. Students that develop more skill of employability is likely to be accepted in workforce sector. So every faculty need to standardize the skill, for example, computer literacy skill. All faculty should equip all students with knowledge and abilities in the use of word processing, presentation, and spreadsheet application. This is because fresh graduates nowadays lack of knowledge, especially in Microsoft Office. Other than that, students must expand their knowledge on digital workforce platform. In today's world, the development of the younger generation is greatly affected by digitalization. Technology has the greatest influence and are constantly surrounded by it. Expand knowledge in crowdsourcing platform can be one of the initiatives to balance the increasing number of graduates and sluggish labour market. Also give a benefit for students to strive in current COVID-19 situation. For example of crowdsourcing platforms such as Upwork, freelancer.com and guru.com.
As conclusion, we successfully achieved our objective 1 as to assess the level of employability among the students of UiTM Puncak Alam, such as competence, personal attributes, and preparedness, which is mostly on average. However, for the objective 2, the difference between CGPA in terms of employability level among UiTM Puncak Alam indicates that it is not significantly